Water parks. You may love them, hate them, or think that I'm talking about an actual water park, and that's okay. But if you do know who they are, maybe you've seen this guy online somewhere, or maybe you heard about them from TikTok, God forbid, or maybe you're like me, and you were an avid Tumblr user in 2017 or 2018, and so of course you heard about water parks. But for the uninitiated, WATERPARKS is a 3-member pop-punk band from Houston, Texas, and they have a somewhat infamous fan base. They are just generally pretty parasocial, like most fan bases on the internet are, to be honest, but you'd be surprised. So, in this video, I'd like to take a look at the wild history of WATERPARKS, starting from the lore about the band, going all the way to my own opinions on the music. So, sit back, grab yourself a snack or a drink, or both, and let's get into the video. Our story starts off not with WATERPARKS, but a different band called the Blue Pop-Tarts. The Blue Pop-Tarts was a Rad X-Core, Crunkadelic, Yay, Chol X-Core, Rainbow X-Core, and Apple X-Core band, according to their social media, that was fronted by Austin Knight in the mid to late 2000s. They were actually mildly successful for a local band of teenagers, recording an entire album and going on a tour of many small venues and hot topics across the southeast. Following the addition of Otto Wood as their new drummer, they renamed the band to Over 9000, and they played a lot of shows, which is cool, until they broke up and fell apart, and it was very bad because they booked a recording session that ended up being a scam, and they lost like over $1,000 on it. And so their final show was in December of 2010 at a local high school, which, according to Austin's memoir, went terribly. The band effectively dissolved after Otto drove off in silence, cutting off contact with Austin completely. But a couple of months later, Austin met bassist Gage Matthew in their local music scene, and after his band broke up too, they decided to start a new one together. The lineup was finalized by the summer of 2011, adding original Blue Pop-Tarts drummer Owen Marvin and guitarist Tommy Denley. Keyboardist Tyler Comer was also a part of the initial lineup, but he left like 2 weeks later because apparently he wasn't good at playing the keyboard. And also the band kind of liked making fun of him, and so they would tell him they were going to a water park instead of practice, which is actually how the band got its name. Allegedly. They don't like to tell that story anymore, so I don't know how true it is, but that's what I read in an interview. And so, with their lineup pretty much finalized, for the most part, in July 2011, WATERPARKS released their first single, titled I Was Hiding Under Your Porch Because I Love You. It got a music video a couple of months later, which I cannot show you guys because it will get taken down, and I don't want this video to get destroyed. A couple of months later, they released their second single, Silver, but the cracks were already starting to form with the foundation of the band. In presumably their first interview, on paper at least, Austin joked that Tommy would probably leave the band, which ended up coming true within a few months. By 2012, they were down to just 3 members, Austin, Gage, and Owen. They stuck together for a little while longer, though, and released their first EP, Airplane Conversations, on April 3rd. It has some less creative lyrical moments, I will admit. But I think it serves as a glimpse into what the band was like before they got signed to a record label, and they were just trying to establish both their sound and image. The release was actually fairly successful for a then unknown band. They sold out of all of their copies within the first week, and already had some fans on the internet and in person. But along with the success came, you guessed it, even more internal issues! Woo! So, allegedly, Owen was arrested for theft and then tried to get Austin to lie to the police for him. So evidently he was out of the band after that. Also, they still needed a guitarist because Tommy had been gone from the band for like half a year at this point. So, Gage introduced Austin to Jeff Wigington as to be their new guitarist, and he joined the band soon after. And by this point, Austin and Otto, the former drummer of Over 9000, were actually on good terms, and Austin had sent a demo of the EP to Otto. He actually listened to it and got back to him about it, so he ended up convincing him to join the band again. And so Gage left the band around the same time due to creative differences, though they would kind of change the story later on a couple of times. And so WATERPARKS was back to having just 3 members, and all was right with the world. On August 17th, 2012, WATERPARKS, with their new lineup, played their first ever show, with the openers DWHB, Invent Animate, Life as Lions, and Pizza. All of these groups were friends of the band. Also, pizza was literally just a box of pizza. After this, the band apparently submitted a fake dubstep project to headline Design the Skyline, and their second real show was opening for Chiodos, Jeff's favorite band.
I'm so excited because Chiodos is my favorite band.
After this, former Blue Pop-Tarts guitarist and longtime friend John Roca played bass for the show, and they all led the dance to Gangnam Style afterwards.
Yeah, buddy, walking, talking lobster. I drink too many drugs and I turn into fucking lobster, goddamn.
WATERPARKS kicked off their 2013 with the release of the music video for Silver. I feel like, in comparison with their first music video, which was really just like a performance video, this one shows off their dynamic a lot better as like both friends and as a band. They're clearly just having fun with each other and they don't take their image too seriously, and I think it just shows that they kind of get along together better than the previous iteration of the band.
We love you, Jeff.
We love you, Jeff.
I love you too, guys.
And with this stronger relationship, the band really began to take off in terms of popularity after that. They started playing live shows, and they actually had a little mini interview filmed and uploaded to YouTube in April of that year.
We are the band WATERPARKS.
I'm Jeff, I play lead guitar.
I'm Austin. I sing and play guitar.
I'm Otto.
What do you do, Otto?
Play drums.
Good!
We're off to a good start.
The next era of WATERPARKS was kicked off by the band opening for Aaron Carter after lying to the tour promoter and saying they could sell way more tickets than they actually could.
How much you love
WATERPARKS.
Who are you?
How excited are you guys for Aaron Carter?
WATERPARKS.
Super excited.
Wow. Okay.
This is also the time that my friend's sister was like besties with the lead singer. I don't know how that happened, because I don't live in Texas. But I felt the need to share that with someone, so you guys get to hear that now. A month later, they released their next single, New Wave.
We're not sleeping, we're just dreaming.
The song symbolizes the new direction the band would be taking after basically reforming their entire lineup. In August, they played their first ever Warped Tour show in Austin, Texas, and they also went to Florida.
Do you hate yourself? Alright, I'm gonna intellectually kick your ass. Crabs are from the spider family. They just adapted and shit in the ocean. So fuck you, I win.
By April of 2014, they announced their second EP, Blacklight. And a few weeks later, they graced us with the cinematic masterpiece that is the New Wave music video.
But this is something I can't. We're not sleeping, we're just dreaming.
Following the release of a second single, on June 5th, Blacklight was officially released. Highlights of the EP include features from Tyler Welsh of Driver Friendly and former Taking Back Sunday guitarist Fred Mascherino, as well as Otto singing a little bit on the second track, American History. So, this may not seem important right now, but it will become important later. That summer, Austin began dyeing his hair, starting off pink, then blonde, then ending up blue in December. Basically, Austin dyed as like a K-pop idol, and so he changes his hair color for every single era of WATERPARKS. And so the blue hair would kind of symbolize this next era they were entering. Also, in May of 2015, Austin uploaded the first 3 songs of his new joke rap project, Lil Kids Bop, to SoundCloud. I might insert a clip of one of these songs, and I might not because my mom wants to watch this video. Not sure if she'll want to watch it more after this.
Bet a bunch of bitches Home Depot, or maybe in the back of Target. Legally change my name to Margaret, bitch.
Kinda looks like Alabama.
Weird. So hell is Alabama. I called it.
In the summer of 2015, the band set out to California to record their third EP. Around this time, they began being managed by Good Charlotte members Benji and Joel Madden's new company, MDDN. Also, they got Mikey Way to play bass for the EP. Yes, this Mikey Way. I have no idea how they pulled this off, but according to an interview, Austin allegedly did some favors for him. On November 6th, the band announced they had signed with Eagle Vision Records. And I know some of you guys are probably like, oh no, because Eagle Vision is not the best record label in terms of like creative freedom. But let's just stay optimistic for this part of the story. We're just happy they got signed to a label in the first place. It shows their career has grown, and also it generally is a sign that they'll have better promotion and funding than if they had stayed independent, so generally a win. On January 7th, 2016, they released the music video for Crave, the lead single of their next EP, and on the same day, I turned 13 years old, blissfully unaware of the existence of WATERPARKS. 8 days later, on January 15th, they released the complete EP, Cluster. After the release of the EP, they set out on the Black Cat tour, opening for Never Shout Never. They asked/forced Austin's childhood friend and former WATERPARKS bassist John Roca to come and be their concert photographer, and he's been following them around ever since, so that's cool. So around this time, WATERPARKS became Alt-Press's golden children. The pop-punk news website heralded them as the next generation of the scene, giving them exposure through interviews, YouTube content, and glowing album reviews. That summer, they set out on their first full Warped tour and began working on their debut album. The band's fanbase actually really began to grow around this time. Fans knew the lyrics to songs, would sing them if Austin pointed the mic at the audience.
I know that not everybody wants to be different.
And everyone was already starting to baby girlify all of the members in their YouTube comments. The band attended the Alt-Press Music Awards later that year in matching sweatsuits, presumably for the drama of it all, because they were not nominated for anything and they did not perform anything.
Water just kind of likes to decide to dump on us. Pour from the ceiling.
What's up? What's up?
WATERPARKS' debut album, Double Dare, was released on November 4th, 2016, followed up by the release of the Super For You music video. Like Cluster, but a bit more dramatically, I feel like this album kind of splits the pop-punk genre in half, where there are some songs that lead a lot more pop and some songs that lead a slightly more punk. For example, Take Her to the Moon is their poppiest song yet, and I can see why they joke that they're like God's favorite boy band, because it kind of has like a boy bandy sound almost. On the other hand, Made in America, I would argue, is the least poppy song on the album. Lyrically, it gives a social commentary on bands in the scene that co-opt charity and social justice movements for their own gain, and also consumerism, I think. The Japanese release features 2 bonus tracks, which you can purchase on Discogs for the small price of $800. The record labels that have the rights to the songs are very, very aggressive about taking down any re-uploads to YouTube, so it's a bit hard to find them, but it's worth a search. As for the album's critical reception, it was actually fairly positive. They maintained their spot as Alt-Press's golden children and received an average of 8 out of 10 stars from other major review sites such as Dork and Kerrang. When I was looking at reviews for this album to see what other people thought, I found a review praising it as the best pop-punk album of the year, followed by a different review calling it the worst pop-punk album in a long time, which I think sums up WATERPARKS pretty well. With their debut a general success, they set out on several tours over the next year, including a North America tour headlining with Too Close to Touch and opening for All Time Low both in the UK and North America. I know that All Time Low is bad, this is just part of their history, and we have to deal with it. The band was nominated for 3 Alt-Press Music Awards that summer, Song of the Year for Stupid For You, Album of the Year for Double Dare, and Best Breakthrough Artist. They attended the awards ceremony dressed as bushes for some reason, and performed Stupid For You in normal outfits.
I just want to take this time to tell everyone to follow me on Twitter.
They ended up winning the Best Breakthrough Artist Award, beating out fellow nominees One OK Rock, Moose Blood, Ice Nine Kills, Avatar, and Creeper. A month later, Austin sold his leg hair on eBay as a joke, and then got banned from the website.
Which part of the video are you most excited for?
Kicking Jeff out of the band.
At least it's all about you. I think the bonds are done. We're all too cool for fun.
In October 2017, WATERPARKS released their latest single, Blonde, revealing a purple-haired Austin and announcing their second studio album, Entertainment. During the process of writing the album, Austin ended up breaking up with his girlfriend, and uploaded the song Worst to YouTube to sort of like get out all of his emotions. It was like kind of like an acoustic song, just kind of like venting, I guess. But it's clear he was really going through a tough time. However, the record label was not as understanding and made him take the video down since he didn't run it by them first. This relationship between both his ex and his record label would heavily influence later releases, but it isn't really as prevalent on Entertainment since it had already been written by the time this stuff started happening. Since it was a pretty messy breakup between 2 public figures, fans didn't exactly know how to act. They commented on her YouTube videos, and they acted like they knew Austin personally, and just generally were like massively overstepping boundaries. I mean, most of their fans were well-meaning. They just wanted to make sure Austin was okay and just wanted him to know they were supporting him during this tough time. As parasocial as that is, at least their intentions were good, for the most part. Also, by this time, the WATERPARKS fanbase tended to be young teenagers, myself included, which can make the parasocial attachments a whole lot worse. But now I must talk to you about Felony Steve. So Felony Steve is the second of Austin's parody rapper personas. If you guys remember Lil Kids Bop, it's just him, but different now. Released the mixtape Money Mountain Volume 2, which came with 2 music videos, Girl You Broke My Heart and Velcro. Oh You Break My Heart is like basically unintelligible, but it does contain the monumental lyrics.
Girl, you got shoes. I like shoes. We wear shoes.
But unfortunately, Equal Vision did not care, and they made him take it down because, once again, Austin did not run it by them first. On a similarly cursed note, in January of 2018, Austin and his friend Travis launched a podcast called Austin and Travis's Slumber Party, in which they read mostly NSFW fanfiction about the band, and it's about as unhinged as you expect, but it was pretty popular with fans at the time, and they actually ended up going on their own little mini tour at the end of the year. On January 26, 2018, the band's second studio album, Entertainment, was released.
There's nothing in my system, so I'm feeling what I feel for you.
In an interview with Alt Press after Blonde was first released, Austin said that he never wanted to make the same thing twice, and that he feels like there's a lot of growth between their first and second albums. Personally, I'd agree. Entertainment is kind of more refined than Double Dare, and there were a lot of really positive reviews that kind of back this up. In March of 2018, Austin got temporarily banned for Twitter for a tweet from 2016, which was weird, but not really guidelines breaking. He later wrote this infamous tweet on a watermelon and then threw it off a parking garage to celebrate 69,000 Twitter followers. So aside from being pop punk's quirky dream guy, Austin made a lot of really funny and generally unhinged tweets back in the day, many of which have been turned into Redbubble stickers. I know this because 2 of them are still on my laptop, which I'm reading off of right now. Also, he read the Bible on stage while on tour, and that has haunted my brain since I saw that video. I don't know what it is about it, but I went on a search to find it, and I had to get someone else to find it for me because I could not, for the life of me, figure out where that video went. In June, Austin collaborated with Manic Panic to release his own hair dye shade, Night Bright Purple, and dyed Crank That Frank's hair in the promo video, which is the most 2018 sentence I could possibly say. That summer, WATERPARKS embarked on the final Warped Tour, which was pretty memorable even as a fan who never actually got to go to any of the shows. Mikey Way came back to play bass on tour. Austin had his own pop-up tent where he kind of just talked about whatever he wanted to, and he beat up a sandwich that one time. But overall, they had a lot of positive interactions with fans. For some more Austin lore, he saw a news crew outside of Warped Tour, and then he jumped out of the car and went over and completely lied to them and said his name was Kyle Fletcher's, and he was part of this band called December's Tragedy. At the end of the summer, they released their last ever Warped Tour recap music video for the single Peach Lobotomy, closing out this chapter of the band's history. That summer, Austin also got really into leaking WATERPARKS songs while drinking Gatorade out of wine glasses. It's unclear if he was just leaking unreleased songs or doing a weird form of promo for their new album. None of us could tell what was going on exactly. Also, Curtis Connor met Austin, or maybe Austin met Curtis Connor. I really can't tell who met who, to be honest, but they met each other, which is cool. In January 2019, Austin became obsessed with the concept of a tooth bat, which is basically a bat covered with hopefully fake, not human teeth.
Hit me with your tooth bat, yeah, you know I like that. Hit me with your tooth bat. Oh.
He eventually got one in March.
That tooth bat, I'm gonna fucking kill Jeff.
And then he received many more from fans. So for this album cycle, the music videos were really connected, lore-wise, I guess. The final scene in the We Need to Talk music video is the same as the first scene in the Not Warriors music video, connecting them as one big sequence of events. Not Warriors also references Friendly Reminder, which is the rumored title of the next WATERPARKS album, hinting at a new era for the band.
Happy 69K. Yes!
On March 19th, 2019, during their tour with One OK Rock, Austin came on stage with red hair, a red necklace, and a matching red guitar.
We got 2 more songs for you, and then we're gonna get the fuck out of here so you can watch One OK Rock. How about that?
And everyone went crazy. Everyone I followed on Twitter and Tumblr was going insane. They were trying to figure out what it all meant. Since each album era has its own color, naturally the change to red would signal the end of Entertainment and the beginning of a new album cycle. So, like I said, I was one of those fans, and I've been keeping up with the music video analyses and the next album theories for months at that point. I was so excited to hear my first new WATERPARKS album since I'd become a fan, and I thought it would be their best album yet, you know? So 3 days later, we got an album announcement, but not quite in the way that we had hoped. So, on March 26, 2019, Austin tweeted that he had deleted the files to Friendly Reminder. So that was ironically the first confirmation of the album existing, but now we know that it doesn't exist, so it's like Schrodinger's WATERPARKS album, except that we know that it's dead. I guess. And that's all the confirmation we got. No track listing or anything, just I deleted it and it's gone. In later interviews, Austin said that he scrapped the album because it was written at the time of his breakup in 2017, and he didn't want to tour on an album all about like one specific emotion, you know? So he had debated over deleting the album while on tour, further confirming that Friendly Reminder was intended to be the next WATERPARKS album, but he had already made up his mind by the time he dyed his hair red and even replaced one of the lyrics in Plum Island to reference this, but no one really caught on to it. In the meantime, he dyed his hair a cotton candy color to sort of like get out of the headspace and concluded this very short-lived Friendly Reminder era. They also announced Entertainment the movie, which was presumably a film made up of tour footage, but it was never released, so sad.
They sent me pictures of me. They know how much I fucking love me.
Okay, I should go ahead and give the disclaimer that, like, I have my opinions on this album. You don't have to have the same opinions, and that's okay. Just be kind to me. Don't flame me in the comments, please. Okay, anyway, moving on. The first thing released post-Entertainment was called Turbulent, which Austin had actually leaked on Instagram Live a couple months prior. And it's definitely a tone shift from the last album.
I done fuck you if I could. Ooh, I done love you like I should.
In my opinion, it has some interesting lyrical choices, including the line, "You had your own Pete Wentz and Patrick combined," which he did get permission from Pete and Patrick to say. It just sounds a little cheesy to me, so I'm sorry to all the Turbulent enjoyers out there. I'm sure it goes crazy live. I haven't had the luck of experiencing that, but I'm just gonna trust you guys on that. Anyway, this new era of WATERPARKS did come with good news. They had finally been released from the clutches of Equal Vision and had signed to Hopeless Records. Austin dyed his hair green for this next album cycle, and the band performed at Slam Dunk Festival that May. In a sort of limbo period between the release of Turbulent and future singles, Austin published his first memoir, You Be Paranoid Too If Everyone Was Out to Get You. Earlier that year, Austin opened up a P.O. box where he received many gifts and letters from fans, as well as teeth, haunted dolls, and glitter bombs. Good news to Felony Steve fans everywhere, he is not dead, he was in fact resurrected to feature on Elijah Daniels' song.
I'm gonna keep it simple with the verse. I'm gonna put myself inside a hearse.
Which also featured Danny Gonzalez, which is not a crossover I was expecting. So Austin is so close to competing, the commentary guy said he just needs to make a song with Drew and we'll be fine. Like, we'll be set. By this point, the next WATERPARKS album cycle was well underway. Austin had been hinting about something happening on Saturday 7 p.m. for months since deleting Friendly Reminder, and I remember waiting literally every single Saturday for him to leak songs. I don't know why. Like, I don't think he leaked a song on Saturday 7 p.m. ever, but I just thought it was gonna happen. I even put it on my calendar, like I was so disappointed, like, when nothing happened. Also, on June 20th, 2019, Austin leaked the song Play, and I never heard about it. Like, I had no idea this song was leaked at all until I started making this video script, like, a year ago. I was literally, like, chronically online, I was tracking every single song he leaked, and I somehow missed it. Like, I missed it by, like, 4 years. And he leaked the entire song, which is kind of unheard of because he would usually only leak, like, snippets, but this was, like, the whole thing. On October 12th, 2019, WATERPARKS' third studio album, Fandom, was released. And I own it! This album got significantly more promotion than previous releases due to them switching to Hopeless Records from Equal Vision, including a billboard in NYC and a special edition release of their album in Target, which is what this is. I was on tour of the college I now attend when it dropped, and I literally begged my mom to take me to Target so I can get the CD, and luckily she let me go, and I have it. I also definitely skipped a performance after the campus tour was over because of this, so I'm sorry to any of my professors if you see this. Anyway, this album marks yet another sonic shift for the band, both improving on their last album in some ways, and in my opinion, stagnating in others. I like this album a lot more than I did when I first heard it, actually, but I still have a couple of thoughts and critiques on it. First off, just about like the lyrical content, I get why Austin deleted Friendly Reminder, but Fandom is also very much about the breakup. Also, remember Worst? Like that song that he dropped and then Eagle Vision took it down? It's on the album, but there's another song on the album that sounds really similar to it, so it just doesn't make any sense for me, for it to be on there. It's not a bad album at all, the track listing has just always bugged me, and admittedly I was a little bitter that some of my favorite demos never made it. So, another song on the album, very succinctly titled, I Miss Having Sex But At Least I Don't Want to Die Anymore, ended up going viral on TikTok. In an effort to reclaim their past albums from Equal Vision, since I don't think they have the rights to them necessarily, the band released 2 medleys, Double Dare 2019 and Entertainment 2019. Unfortunately, Equal Vision could not let anyone have fun or be happy, so they got taken down from streaming services not long after. From November 2019 to February 2020, the band embarked on 2 separate tours, a North America tour and a tour of the UK, and they ended up recording their concert in Birmingham live. So, on January 22nd, 2020, Austin made a tweet saying if it reached 20,000 retweets, he would drop a new WATERPARKS album that day. Through the sheer effort of Parks fans, and myself included, they ended up somehow reaching 20,000 retweets, and at 7:02 p.m. that same day, Austin dropped a collection of 9 demos on SoundCloud. It included 3 demos that had previously been leaked on Instagram Live, Noise, Lemonade, and Glitter Times, and 6 more that had never been seen before. Based off of the 1990-something naming convention and the titles, it can be assumed that they were recorded from around 2014 to 2017. There was no confirmation what any of these songs were intended for, but it was already known that Life is Puke was originally written for Cluster as an intro into Mad All the Time, so we knew about that song at least. For the majority of the spring and summer of 2020, as the world, collapsed in on itself, Austin took a break from social media and set out to work on their next album in the meantime.
Oh my god, it says Austin. It's a fucking Austin straw. This is so sick. I'm gonna be so annoying at every single restaurant ever. Thank you. Thank you for feeding into that, especially with this.
Austin emerged from a social media hiatus in September of 2020, going live on Instagram to play some acoustic songs, which turned into him leaking a new song while cutting off all of his green hair. That song ended up being their latest single, Low-Key as Hell, which dropped a week later. At the same time, the band also announced that they had moved from Hopeless Records to 300 Entertainment. 2 months later, Low-Key as Hell got a music video, debuting a tri-colored hairstyle for the next era. Fandom, live in the UK, finally dropped that November, with both a film and album release. And, bringing in the new year, on the first day of 2021, Austin tweeted that there was a new WATERPARKS album. The next month, they announced their newest album, Greatest Hits, will be released on May 21st, 2021. In my opinion, I feel like the singles leading up to the album were pretty diverse, starting off with Snow Globe. It relies more on piano and synths, leading to a lighter and dreamier sound, complemented by Austin's vocals and harmonies. The next single, Numb, was pretty different, leaning back into their pop-punk sound that had characterized most of their previous releases. In between releasing singles, the band streamed the entire tour, and Austin revealed on a Twitch stream that he actually had a secret YouTube channel where he dropped demos. Unfortunately, this was not the, vault of unreleased songs that I thought it would be. It ended up just being a couple of demos and, a cover and stuff, but that's cool, I guess. The last 2 singles leading up to the release of the album were You Do Paranoid 2, Everyone Was Out to Get You, featuring Mikey Way on bass, and additional vocals from Dwayne, Patent Pending, and Dashboard Confessional. Finally, they released the single Just Kidding, bringing the pre-release singles total to 5. On May 21st, 2021, Greatest Hits was released. This album sets itself apart from their past releases due to its diverse track listing, which I feel like adds a lot of interest to the album. As for the album's organization, it has a couple of interludes that I think are interesting and kind of stand on their own. Their pop-punk influences definitely shine through on this record, namely through Numb and American Graffiti. But some of the songs lean more into an experimental, almost dream pop sound. Also, See You in the Future is not a typo. A fan got a tattoo of the song See You in the Future in Austin's handwriting, but it somehow ended up with 2 ins, so Austin changed the title on streaming services so the fan's tattoo wouldn't be inaccurate. Which I think is sweet. If you couldn't tell already, this is my personal favorite WATERPARKS album. I feel like it really takes the band in a new direction that's actually interesting, and they do it without abandoning their previous sound either, creating a really unique collection of songs that have a lot of different genre influences. Admittedly, it does have a few low points. I don't really listen to Fruit Roll-Ups ever, it's not really my favorite, but the high points more than make up for them, and overall I think it's their best work so far. A few days after the release of Greatest Hits, they released a music video for Violet, and I graduated high school. I think the album is my favorite partially due to the fact that I have a lot of really significant memories associated with it, since it came out during such a major turning point in my life. Just before the release of the album, Austin began teasing his new fashion label, High Def. I actually don't have access to their Instagram because it's also private, go figure, and I've been sitting in the request for 2 years now, but I was able to find an archive of their posts basically up until December 2022 at the account High Def Updates. The first High Def drop was on July 28th, 2021, and I believe they're still going on today. Around the same time, Austin opened up a private Instagram at Austin3000, which I do have access to. And it's mostly just a spam account for memes and stuff. And also so his main account doesn't get suspended for violating community guidelines due to the unhinged responses he gives to Q&A posts. Later in the year, the band embarked on their first tour to promote Greatest Hits in the UK and then came back to the US for the Night Out on Earth tour in October. In the spring of 2022, Austin began teasing their next album and announcing some tours for the summer. Also, Telephone, one of the songs featured on Fandom, was in an episode of Heartstopper, subjecting a wider audience of people to the world of water parks, for better or for worse.
What is the most romantic thing you've ever done for someone?
On a lot of tours, I like to open up Otto's bunk and say, your bunk is my bunk now. And I pull him, and he's like, no! And then we wrestle for a good, 45 minutes. It's only if I'm, really, antsy. Give him a kiss on the forehead, put him back.
That's pretty romantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time that I go to the store, I always think about Otto and I get him a bar of chocolate. Yeah.
Is it romantic things for bandmates, or did we just make it like that?
Just whatever.
Okay. I didn't go to prom.
Hey guys, so as you can probably tell, it's been 2 months since I filmed the rest of this video, and so I look very different, but that's okay, because I needed to refilm this section because my thoughts on this album have actually changed a lot. So I wanted to give this album the justice it deserves. So anyway, the latest era of WATERPARKS began with them releasing their newest single, Funeral Grey. 3 days before the release of the song, the band announced they had left 300 Entertainment and had signed to Fueled by Ramen. Yes, that Fueled by Ramen. Which confuses me personally because everything that WATERPARKS has stood for has been so anti-restrictive labels. And though Fueled by Ramen has helped boost the careers of a lot of bands, and I won't discount that at all, it's also known as a place where bands go to die because they tend to be a lot more restrictive over their creative expression. But I can also see why the band want to sign to a major label because of the promotion and success they may gain from it. Over the summer, the band was busy touring and releasing new singles. They settled on a European leg of the Night Out on Earth tour, and then came back to the US for the Sad Summer Festival. If you guys remember Mikey Way playing bass for the band in 2016 and 2018, that moment has come full circle because WATERPARKS ended up opening for My Chemical Romance on some of their tour dates from August 30th to September 5th. They came back for one more show with MCR in October, co-opening with Midtown. The band had recorded a collab with Blackberry, performing it for the first time on this tour, and they officially released it in October. And the song is called,
We can fuck about it later if you want, 'cause all we ever really do when something's wrong.
I'm not saying it out loud. Hi Mom, if you're still watching this. Sorry. But anyway, who cares, because now it's November 2022, and WATERPARKS has some exciting new announcements for us. They dropped the track listing for their latest album and then officially announced that the title would be Intellectual Property. January 2023 saw the release of their newest single, Room Super Dark. I won't get into my thoughts on it just yet, but it's not my favorite personally. But it did come with some really sick concept photos, and I honestly wish they made a music video for it because I would have loved to have seen them take this concept further. On April 14th, 2023, Intellectual Property was officially released. On the same day, they held a museum event in Los Angeles, and for a week following the release of the album, they played some acoustic shows in record stores across the United States. In an interview with Zach Sang, Austin said that the album was heavily influenced by his own religious guilt and how that impacts his relationships himself.
Because, before, even 16, 17, stuff like that, when I'd be really depressed or going through some shit, I would still go to a church sometimes and just kind of sit outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
But it's it's very conflicting because at the same time, it's there's an infinite number of fucking problems with not necessarily religion, but organized religion or church. You know what I mean? There's everything's got its issues, but especially on that side of it, that it's a conflicting thing because it's technically something that you should or used to find comfort in.
I thought this was a really interesting concept, and I've never really shown up with their lyrics before. And as someone who also grew up in the South, I can kind of empathize and understand these experiences, and I was really excited to see how they took these themes and put them into the album. But as inspired as its themes may be, upon first listen, I really thought that Intellectual Property kind of missed the mark a little bit. I really wasn't sure how to feel about the album. Honestly, at first, I was really comparing it to Greatest Hits and just, in my mind, and I felt like it kind of lacked the lyrical depth and quality that album had, and also just wasn't as diverse of a track listing, But, given they had the watchful eyes of my ramen looming over them at all times, I feel like maybe they were trying to make the album more commercially friendly and might have sacrificed some of the creative decisions that made Greatest Hits so great. But also, I don't know if it's fair to compare them because they're two separate pieces of art. And so, after listening to it a second time, and which ended up being a year later, I feel like my opinions have changed just a little bit. I think the album is enjoyable, and the catchy songs are really catchy, so when they do it right, they do it really well. There's just a couple of songs that I feel like are not my personal favorites, but though I still don't like some of the songs of the album, I feel like the themes are really interesting, and I like the creative direction they went with. But let's get into what I didn't like first. By far my least favorite is Real Super Dark. I just feel like the lyrics are a rehash of Tantrum off of their 2018 album Entertainment, but just like a really awkward version of it. It just feels like the delivery, I don't know, there's some parts of it that just feel really awkward to me. But I do like the choruses, so that has that going for it. Also, I just feel like Two Best Friends was not written for me to enjoy. Like, this is just not a song that I personally like. It sounds a little cheesy to me, but my friend likes it, and I know there are a lot of fans that like the song, and of course the band likes the song because they put it on the album, so, you know, not everything is going to be for me, and I understand that, so, like, I respect the vision, it's just not my vibe, not my jam. But I did end up liking the majority of the album. So, for example, the first single, Funeral Grey, you know, at first glance, it is kind of a stereotypical pop-punk song about a girl who's, like, not like other girls, and she doesn't care what you think, and she wears sweaters in the middle of summer. But I also wear sweaters in the middle of summer, so I really can't say anything. It's also just incredibly catchy and really fun to listen to, and I always find myself singing along by the end of it. As for my favorites, they are the opening track, Self-Sabotage, and the closer, A Night Out on Earth. The first track is just catchy, fun, and I feel like it's a really energetic way to start the album. And the closer, A Night Out on Earth, ties together the album perfectly, in my opinion. Also, one of the songs is a clip of Curtis Connor talking in it, so that's cool. A couple of months after the album came out, the band released a new single, Sneaking Out of Heaven, which they ended up tacking on to the end of the album as, I guess, like a bonus track. It's another catchy pop song, no complaints here, I enjoy it, personally. Overall, once again, just personally, I have mixed feelings about intellectual property. There are a lot of things that I like, and there are some things that I don't like about it, but I'm really interested to see where they go in the future. The whole "It's been a pleasure" tagline following the album has kind of led me to speculate that this might be their last album for a little while, or at least, like, they might be taking a break after this, and I can see why, because they've been working non-stop since 2020, and arguably since 2015 when they really started to take off, so I feel like they definitely deserve a break, and so, you know, I just hope they do what's best for them. But after the release of the album, the band went on tour, and I really, really wanted to see them in New Orleans, but I ended up missing it, very sadly. And, you know, they brought back a lot of really old songs to the set list, so I'm honestly pretty jealous. But following the tour, the band seemed to hint at new music, presumably drawing this era to a close. That's wrong. I lied. I lied to you guys. It's Intellectual Property, the sequel time. They made a second one. Okay, that's not necessarily true. But basically what the band has been doing lately is they started releasing, like, reimagined versions of the songs off of Intellectual Property, and I can see why they're doing this because it makes sense with the themes of the album. Like, they're kind of like two characters, sort of, in the album. Let me just let Austin explain it himself.
Conceptually, there are two characters in, like, the album as far as the soul sucker and starfucker thing.
Right.
And so because of that, they started releasing, like, the other side of the story. And I think that's a really cool idea, personally. Also, they're literally just calling it Intellectual Property 2, which I think is kind of funny. Just like, it's the sequel, guys. They're making another one. Also, at some point over the past year, the band actually left Fueled by Ramen, and they've been independent since then. And honestly, good on them. They've had a lot of issues with labels over the years, so honestly, I think it's best for them just to be single for a while.
Just because you're able to identify something, like, you know, like an issue or a problem or like the source of it, doesn't necessarily mean it's like fixed. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean like just because you identify it, it's like now it's unlearned, now it's out, now you've you know, pulled it. So
though I've never been able to make it to a concert or meet the band, and all I can show for myself as a fan is this t-shirt that I bought from Hot Topic, this CD, an embarrassing number of streams, and of course a Twitter follow from the band account. WATERPARKS has been here for me for 6 years of my life, which is pretty crazy. From being a 15-year-old with braces and weird obsessive interests to being a 21-year-old with no braces, but, you know, same interests. WATERPARKS has been here for me for a lot of pretty significant moments in my life, including touring my future college, where I begged my mom to take me to Target to buy this CD, to graduating high school and hanging out with my friends this summer, and now I'm gonna be a senior in college. So this was some pretty significant moments in my life, and WATERPARKS has been here this whole time, soundtracking all of them. To be honest, no matter my thoughts on the music, I'm glad that I've been listening to them this whole time. Who knows what the future holds, but I like to think that the best is yet to come. WATERPARKS, if you're somehow watching this, thank you for everything, and hopefully I'll see you in the future. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it. It has been so long in the making. I actually wrote this script over a year ago, and I filmed most of it, and then I scrapped the whole thing and gave up. So this has been a lengthy project for me, but I'm really glad that I was finally able to finish it. Thank you so much to the blog WATERPARKS Drama on Tumblr for providing so many resources for this video, including a timeline of the band's entire history. Obviously I filled in some gaps here and there and gave my own thoughts, but they kind of made the backbone of this script, so I really couldn't do it without them. And thank you to you guys for watching this video. I have no idea if the algorithm is going to pick this one up. I just hope people watch it, and if you're watching, then thank you. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!
That wasn't very good.
Oh, I forgot to flex my Twitter follow! Hold on. We're redoing this. Okay. Let me just film the outro in another video.